How much do you believe in this line, each of you, कि writer बाप होता है?
I think that the way you treat your writers is a reflection of the films that you see.
मैं मानता हूँ बाप और माँ दोनों. It was an improvised line by Vineet on the sets.
There are directors, producers, bigger writers who are now hiring younger writers, getting them to do the bulk of the writing, and just for talking and giving ideas, they're taking credit.
If I take a scene and if I ask you which of these lines were Zoya's or which of these lines were Reema's, would you be able to tell me? And they always looked at me and said, no.
Privately, everything good, the other, it's my line. And everything that didn't work, and that's your line. That's your idea. It's true. Safeena's character was written by me for another script. The Safeena that I had written got completely modified and adapted to the Safeena that exists in Gully Boy.
It is the line of the trailer, it is the line of the film, and it perhaps will be a line in popular culture that we'll remember for the years to come. And that is writer baap hota hai. Hi and welcome to Just Do Filmy. I'm Rotalks and I'm sitting with two of our finest writers who've put together Superboys of Malegaon that releases in theatres on the 28th of February. Guys, congratulations. I watched the film, so let's start with that. Beautiful film, but because this chat is going to drop before the film releases, I thought it'd be great for my audience to have an audience with the two of you as some of our finest writers. So let's start with that. How much do you believe in this line, each of you, कि writer बाप होता है?
मैं मानता हूँ बाप और माँ दोनों. मतलब वो फिल्म में just the context of the film and how, and it was an improvised line by Vineet on the sets, but
Really?
yeah, it was.
What?
Yeah.
This I did not know. Let's
Yeah,
take a
very
minute.
few people know because it's just.
That's
but
amazing.
it is. I mean, I do believe in that. I do believe writer बाप और माँ और सब कुछ होता है,
हाँ जी.
होना चाहिए, होता है नहीं होता है. That is still open to the jury. But होना चाहिए. In a healthy film industry, writers should be given enough credit, enough value, enough creative control, and like enough space to argue your case, which I got luckily in this film. And but not always. It happens with all the writers. But we all know. I mean, we keep talking about content is king or queen और जो भी हम लोग बोलते रहते हैं कि कंटेंट के बिना कुछ नहीं है. कागज पे जो लिखा गया है वही फिल्म में आता है अल्टीमेटली. So I just wish we arrive at that place where there is way more power to writers than it is today. Today there are certain cases and certain writers who have to then prove themselves again and again, and then you reach a point where, say, someone like Juhi Chaturvedi or Sudeep Sharma or Reema or Zoya, or so there are writers who have to then fight their way to where they are listened to. Otherwise, it is still a.
Reema, you also started as a writer.
Well, I started as an AD,
but
and then I did Honeymoon Travels first.
Which you wrote.
Yeah, which I wrote, and then Zoe and I wrote Talash together.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with what Varun is saying. The writer should be the baap. Writing should be the king of any film. Unfortunately, that's not true. And in a sense, I think that I or Zoya, we've lucked out because we write primarily for ourselves. The lot of writers who are there, I mean, when I talk to them, when I see what's happening, I think that the way you treat your writers is a reflection of the films that you see.
Absolutely.
The quality of the films. And, there's SWA who's doing a lot of work with them. There's, what happens, and it's really sad, but there are directors, producers, bigger writers who are now, hiring younger writers, getting them to do the bulk of the writing, and just for talking and giving ideas, they're taking credit. So things like this, I think, is very demoralizing to a community.
Absolutely.
And if we want to go back to, say, the golden age of writers, to a time when there was people like Salim Saab and Javed Saab, writing, I think we're going to have to take a very, very long, hard look at how we're treating writers.
Yeah, and I'm glad that this film is one of those sort of pushes, right, in that direction. Because
Yeah.
I know the film is about 100 other things. It's about friendships, it's about the dreams, it's about hopes. But I think this is what stayed with me, and which is why I requested that the two of you talk to me. What I'm also interested in is the three of you. You know, this is like a combo that I'm very excited about. Varun Grover, Reema, and Zoya. It's almost like, of course. But I was like, why did it take so long? So could you tell me how this happened? Is there some sort of a text that started it, or did you all bump into each other? Because this creative combination really excited me about this film.
Well, I mean, it started with Zoe and me being completely kind of immersed in writing a lot of stuff for Tiger Baby. And, we both were like, let's think of a writer that we're both really happy with. And weirdly, we both came up with Varun. So it had to be Varun. We reached out to him. And luckily, he had the time to do this for us. And yeah, I mean, he obviously did the writing of it. Zoya and I were only bouncing boards, and therefore he deserves credit for writing. And we do, since we didn't write, we didn't take credit, and as we shouldn't have. And I'm just really grateful to Varun for just writing this story so beautifully.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Varun, you're
and I have
also-
been,
yeah.
I mean, I was kind of chasing this story for a long while. So I remember even before the documentary I think came out in 2009 or something, Faiza's documentary. But before that, there was a longish piece in, I think, India Today or Outlook, I forgot, but there was like a cover story which was there. And so I knew about Malegaon, then I saw the documentary, then I met Farog and Nasir at the screening. It was way after the original release of the documentary, but I think 2012 when they came to Bombay. I met them, I kept in touch with Farog, I kept in touch with just the what is happening in Malegaon now, where they are right now. And I was thinking constantly of doing something with them or doing something about Malegaon. And then I was between Sacred Games, I think, season 1 and season 2, and at a party of Narcos. So the Narcos team had come to Bombay for one launch. And I met Zoya there, and Zoya said, there is a film, we want you to write it. And I said, okay, what is it about? She said, oh, Malegaon, and they have this industry. And I was like, of course, I know them and I'm kind of obsessed with them. So I really, I'll be very happy to start working on that. And then I had to finish Sacred Games at that time. And then it would have happened earlier if there was no COVID and all. So
Yeah.
COVID delayed us by 2 years or so. 2019 was when I said, okay, I'll finish, the Sacred Games is over. Now I'll start, figuring that out. And then it was something which I was independently kind of obsessing
Obsessed
over.
with, yes.
And Zoya and Reema were already independently kind of chasing this story. And they had met Nasir, and they had kind of, Nasir was very happy to sign up with them in terms of life
Correct.
rights and all, and the story to give full access to all the archival material and his own films and the people of Malegaon, which are now part of the film.
Correct. I want to ask you, what is the advantage of writing for writers, or the disadvantage?
In this case, it was a big advantage. I don't know if that will always be true, but in this case, it was because both of them, first of all, I really respect their writing. I really, I'm very inspired by the kind of stuff they have done. And so there was that relationship of trust already. And I knew, okay, whatever feedback comes from them will come not just from a writer perspective, like writers whose work I already like, but also from a filmmaker perspective, which is very important when you are writing for screen. So that always helped. In fact, like even, and because Reema was, so there was the shooting draft ready, and still like just 15 days before the shoot, she was still, having a chat, ki, okay, maybe this scene, maybe this climax and all, like, so the original, no spoilers, but the original climax, which was in the previous shooting draft, had slightly different energy,
Yeah.
which,
Yeah,
She
but
was
I mean
like-
that was great
Yeah,
also.
and I
because,
love this one.
Yeah.
I love this one.
I mean,
That was-
every director does want to make the script their own, but I mean, with Varun, I think because he, where everybody's a writer director in the room.
Yes.
Yeah. So our vision was very clear. I mean, how to get there, maybe sometimes I had a different idea or he had a different idea also. But the vision of what we wanted, we all three were like really, we were very clear about that and united about that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So if there is a better suggestion, then everybody will go with the better suggestion
Yeah.
versus who came up with the suggestion,
Yeah.
which is, I think,
Yeah.
the way to go.
Yeah, and you can't really pick out stuff. Like how, say, Varun just said, that line, writer baap hota hai, we were improvising on set. And Vineet said it, and I went crazy. I was like, please say it. And I've actually reused it in the film, and I'm kicking myself for not having the, the wherewithal to actually take a frontal. So I had to dub it on somebody's back. But the thing is that Vineet, I don't think, would have come up with those lines if the lead-up scene
Yeah, the
wasn't
whole
what he had
scene,
written.
yeah.
So
100%.
nothing comes out of isolation. If Vineet said that, is because the lines that Varun had written earlier were kind of leading up to that, and this was begging to be said.
Said, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
it's very difficult to pick out. Ye iska idea tha, ya, you know what I'm saying? You
100%.
can never do that.
100%. I think I've asked you and Zoya that question so many times, right? And I never get an answer. And it's a fun question, usually. That if I take a scene and if I ask you which of these lines were Zoya's or which of these lines were Reema's, would you be able to tell me? And they've always looked at me and said, no, it's not like that. Rohini, it doesn't happen like that. Which is great, because
Yeah.
that's how the process
Yeah,
is.
that's just the public answer. Privately, everything good, the other, it's my line. And everything that didn't work out, that's your line. That's your idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect to get this answer the first time I interviewed you. So, that's also a journey. So thank you for that.
Yeah, but we, it's honestly, we've been asked that all the time, like whose idea is this or whose idea is that. But, it's very, very difficult to kind of, when people are creating together. Like, for Gully Boy, like Zoya in an interview said that it's true, Safeena's character was written by me for another script. And Zoya came back once and, I mean, Zoya, I was like, what do you want for your birthday? And she was like, Safeena, But again, the Safeena that I had written got completely modified and adapted to the Safeena that exists in Gully Boy.
Correct.
So the Safeena that exists in Gully Boy is our Safeena.
Correct.
You can never say it was somebody I wrote in another film.
Correct.
Yeah.
But this is a unique situation because mostly you've written your films. And here you are, and you're actually just directing. Did anything change at all for you?
Not like Varun said, he was very, very gracious about my concerns about the shooting draft. And I think he understood what I was trying to do, wanting to do. And it was pretty smooth in that sense.
Yeah, because
It was very smooth.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm wondering what it is like to not labor through that process of
Yeah,
writing.
yeah.
And then come in and do a different sort of labor.
Yeah, for me, this is the first time. But that's why I think I'm so grateful to Varun, because it feels very seamless.
Absolutely.
And somewhere, I think if you all are all on the, you sit on the same side of the fence.
Yes.
And there is a kind of understanding of, a similar worldview. Like I said, the vision for the film. For me, if you had asked me about 2 years ago, would it be easy for me to direct somebody else's writing? I would have probably said no.
No,
But
yes.
not really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wonder, the beating heart of the film, and when you'll watch it in the theaters, I don't want to reveal it, but you found a story outside of the story. And I think that is so hard to do, because I thought that's all we had, How do you arrive at which story to tell?
So for me, it was very important to not write it like a biopic. That was one condition I put on myself, that okay, we have Nasir Sheikh's life and we have people around him, but a biopic, the typical biopic we have made so many times, and a good guy in the middle of conflict and how he overcomes or she overcomes, mostly it's he in Bollywood. but that was one condition. Second was I'm really deeply interested in cinema and its impact on society, and this gave us an opportunity to go deeper into it, that what is cinema, and when we talk about cinema, what is art and what is, who decides what is art. So there was that one question which is kind of, which makes one layer of the film, which is this art or is that art, and who decides. So there is a line, not a spoiler, but Farokh says कि मैं बॉम्बे जाके देख के आ गया, वहाँ भी किसी को नहीं पता क्या बना रहे. So there is that thing. That was one layer. Second is who creates, who is the creator, which is the second central
Yes.
conflict in the film, the writer versus the director, which right now you can see we are very, we are very much in sync, but it is a rare case.
Yes.
Generally it is always, and I have also kind of, I think Reema has also learnt it slowly over a period of time to let go of certain conflicts. Like as a writer, I've, now I'm very cool about, okay, a director comes in and they want to mold the script according to what their vision is, it's fine. But still, who is the baap in a way?
Yeah, true.
Right. So there is that conflict in the film, which we had ready-made characters for them. So why not focus on that instead of course, that story about Superboys of Malegaon, people in Malegaon against all odds making cinema, that story has been told multiple times.
Exactly.
And told beautifully, documented multiple times. And we are not saying we are not documenting that. That is still the heart of the film. But what is the mind of the film? What is the soul
And what is
of
the
the
magic in the film, I think, you know?
That's so true.
So
You
there are
find that,
so many
Yeah.
layers you
Yeah.
can find in a story where, one, we already have these characters who are creators and who are fighting many odds which we, privileged people in Bombay don't have to fight. Okay, we are making films. When we say we are making a small film, even then you go and see on the sets, people are, still kind of chilling. They don't have to go back to a handloom or powerloom shop and go back to weaving cloth or selling khajur or doing whatever.
Labor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so that was already there, and that is still there, and that you can't take away from the achievement they had. But beyond that, there are these human stories which everyone can connect with. Just that was my attempt and interest, and I hope it
Amazing.
kind of
Amazing.
comes through.
I want to end by asking each of you that what has it done for you as human beings, being part of this process and being part of this film? Because I don't know, I feel like this film has forced a lot of you to be different from who you were. Has that happened to you as a process in this film?
Yeah, I mean, it was one hugely inspiring just to meet Nasir and Farokh, who is no more, unfortunately, but I was in touch with him for many years. And even for this film, I interviewed him and we met and we spent time together. So one, to meet these people, to get into their life stories and to have access and to have the faith that we can tell their stories. That faith is very, I mean, it's a
Yes.
privilege to have someone's faith. And then that someone telling us, Nasir saying कि आपने ये justice किया है हमारी जिंदगी के साथ, आपने इंसाफ किया है, that is like the first thing you want. Okay, you will get whatever reviews whenever the film comes out, good, bad, whatever. But that was something I didn't want to fail that test. And that has happened, and that is great. And I think I've learned a lot about not just, I mean, filmmaking and all, but like the human grit and human, whatever, will to dream and make
Exactly.
them come true. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Reema, did it remind you of a time when you were not the Reema Kagti?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, of course, because, Nasir's beginning and my beginning is similar. You know what I'm saying? I cannot explain to you what movies in a small town meant, for my growing up. And there's this, and that wasn't even in the internet age.
Yeah.
So small towns were very small in that sense, and we try. I'm a product of piracy, like Nasir.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
we all are.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's crazy, I watched Rangila. It was obviously shot off a Steenbeck machine. and a fly used to keep coming in and sitting on the screen, and one hand with a stick used to come and hit the fly.
Oh my God.
That's how I watch Rangila, you know. So somewhere there was a deep connection to that experience,
Correct.
that lived
Correct.
experience, you know. But at the same time, I think it's very humbling because I realized that I could be a director out of Mumbai, but here's a man out of Malegaon directing, and there are still similarities in directors. You know what I'm saying? You are a jugaru, you are a hustler,
Yeah.
you are kind of, you know, you cannot order people to to inspire them. So you have to somewhere inspire them, which needs a little bit of manipulation in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, so there are many things like that. There were parallels like that. His influences were my influences.
Yes.
Growing up, I was crazy about Mr. Bachchan, you know, Bruce Lee, Chaplin. So there were many similarities. But I think that it was a very, very humbling experience because of that one big difference. I needed to come out to Mumbai to make films. Nasir, just for the pure love of making films with no agenda, made this one film that led to an entire parallel universe of filmmaking.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
they would produce, they would make films in about whatever 40, 50,000. It would earn a few lakhs, but it was a valid ecosystem.
Industry. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so lovely. I'm so grateful that you all took the time to talk to me today. I do want to end with the line of lines, and that's a line because they always say that writers should write what they know. And I think that if you and Nasir shared a time of growing up, Varun and I shared that time, which is why I'm going to end the interview with Kajol is the killer. There is no better way to end this interview. So thank you so much for watching Just Too Filmy. And if you're wondering why they're cracking up, please watch the film in cinemas on the 28th of February. This is me, Rohini, signing out.